G Cup was a really interesting piece. I think when it comes to women's wear and women's comfortability and feeling confident and stuff, um, in the West, it's become such a thing where we're so open about it that we forget about women living in such conservative places where their form and their confidence and all of that goes by the wayside. So I think seeing that and seeing this perspective is really eye opening, and it's done in such a great way. Um, it was a really, really lovely piece. It was great to see these women combating this environment where, um, it's out of the norm for them to feel confident and to be acknowledged and to um, have their sexuality and their confidence be put on display, and having this store where they can go out and experience that is so revolutionary for them and so amazing just to have. I think it was a really beautiful piece. I really enjoyed the message. I really enjoyed the content of it. But it was also shot incredibly well, and I think it was a really interesting story, a really great story, and overall really, really well done. Good job.
Up to G Cup. I absolutely loved this. I thought it was really, really fascinating learning about something like a lingerie store, especially in America. It's not something we think about. Um, Not really anyway, but in other cultures, it would have like a huge significant, like, this is a big deal. Um, so learning about these women wanting to create this store, wanting to have this product for women of their culture, women in their country, and learning all about the history and the laws and the culture and the struggle was really, really fascinating and really, really inspiring, especially for something that, like I said, in my own country, we don't think about ever. It's not something that I give a second thought to. We can pick up lingerie wherever we want, essentially, and we have all these different stores for it, but having like a shifted perspective was, like I said, really, really interesting, really, really fascinating, really, really great to learn. I really enjoyed it.
Up to a G Cup. This film felt revolutionary for me, which I know is a big word, but I think to be revolutionary is to show something with bravery and courage and honesty. And I thought this film did so because it gave a very intimate and honest portrait of these women, and them owning a store in a deeply conservative country, a store that kind of combats all of those ideals. And it was an act of rebellion to acknowledge a woman's uh, body, a woman's power, and a woman's right to pleasure and to feeling good in what they wear, not simply just chosen by a man. There's a clear comfort between all of the subjects where I felt like they could speak so openly and honestly about relationships and um, lack of freedoms and issues that typically women in the culture wouldn't openly talk about. It was, yeah, a really great array of subjects, and it was awesome to be able to see the people coming in and how it's important for them and how the store is important for those who own it as well, as giving that agency and that purpose. I also thought that the news cycle being shown throughout the piece and them commenting on current violences and events happening close by just gave a really clear context for the piece and foundation to juxtapose where they were and what they were doing.
Up to a G Cup. this film was really interesting. It was interesting, it was educational, and it just, it reminded me how much we take for granted here, because lingerie here is a way of life. It isn't something that I grew up being ashamed of, and I realized that cultures in different parts of the world are very, very different. So this was educational in a lot of ways. I think that these women are amazing. I mean, they're trailblazers to be doing this and setting up a store and having to go through certain challenges, like the challenge about the billboard and the photograph with that, and what could they put up there, and what was too revealing, and what they ended up with, I thought was really intriguing and really interesting. A lot of the stuff was so hard to listen to because I'm not from that culture, and it's a little difficult for me to wrap my mind around what might happen to you if you give your virginity to somebody who you are in love with, how the consequences of doing that. It was very, very, very eye-opening. A lot of what the interviews were talking about was exceedingly eye-opening, really educational. I think that the filmmakers did this justice. I think that they did some amazing cinematography that gave you an inside look onto what life was like there. I think that the interviews mixed with the candid conversations, the pacing of this was superb. And yeah, it was a great, great film. Well done.
This is very good, very interesting documentary. And I'll just say first off, Americans, we don't get a lot of looks at just the everyday goings on of everyday people in Iraq. So just for that, it's very valuable to be able to see just everyday people interacting with each other. Very interesting topic. This would be very controversial there. It was very interesting seeing these women who are trailblazers. They're doing some work to change things there, and through such a unique way through lingerie and lingerie shops. So it was very compelling to hear all these stories about all the violence that the women had been through with the families, and the Saddam Hussein regime, and all the things that had happened. Very compelling. So this is just a backdrop of a history and a everyday look and insight to the culture of these people. So yeah, it was really interesting. Very, very interesting. Everybody on camera was terrific. The main subjects of the documentary were just wonderful on camera. Well, everything was well understood. It was well shot. Well edited, well directed. Great job here. So good luck with this. I hope it gets out there and gets seen, because it's important.
When you're reading, you're going to be viewing a film on the first Iraq lingerie store. It's hook, line, sinker for me. There is a war on women in the modern era, and the pit of women's suffrage exists in the Middle East, with the Taliban banning us from education to moral policing that led to a worldwide revolution. This gives us an intimate view of the female world. A cultural phenomenon. This goes to show you don't need strong quality in order to tell an intriguing story. We get to see the perspective from a well-rounded group of women, and we hear from the teenagers who mothers pick out everything for them, to the wives who are trying to buy and appease their husbands, to those who have even been diagnosed with cancer and have been mutilated. We hear from women who are single, married, are in love or in loveless relationships. the location is really what sets the story into motion. And it's all of the people coming in and out of this lingerie brick and mortar. The core focus comes from this duo who runs the store and takes on these challenges that we in the US would never see, such as fighting to have a woman in lingerie on an ad displayed outside of their building, just simply to be a storefront sign. None of these women really go out of their way to buy something that we would consider, not to be so risque. Oftentimes, they end up choosing very simple undergarments. This doesn't stop these Iranian women, though, from making the move to offer these women something with color or sheer, or even sharing the concept of what a G-string is. They take their time with each person who walks into their door. We even get a spotlight in what their lives are like outside of their work experience. And behind the curtain, we kind of break down these different moments of personal and societal history. These people share their experiences with ISIS, a woman who desires to divorce her husband. It's vitally important to give these women a voice and open our eyes and be grateful for what we have.